For coming to the Town of Cedar Lake Stormwater Board meeting. If you would please stand on your feet and recite the national anthem.
Oh, excuse me.
Pledge of Allegiance.
We're going to do something new. That's later on tonight. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. I apologize. We have a new recording secretary.
Well, Wendy's out today, so I'm
Wendy's
filling
out
in
today.
for Wendy. My name's Cheryl.
All right, Cheryl. Would you like to lead us in roll call, please?
Sure. Mr. Lysak?
Here.
Mr. Grosek?
Here.
Mr. Kenchlow?
Here.
Mr. Sherry?
Here.
Mr. Ashen is absent. Mr. Eldred is absent. Mr. Bozma is absent. Ms. Rivera? Here. Ms. Schmidt-P is absent. Mr. Kubiak?
Here.
Ms. Heidick is present.
All right. Moving on to the first agenda item, we have the minutes from May 13th, 2025. Is there any questions or things to be discussed in regards to the minutes?
Make a motion to approve the minutes from May 13th, 2025.
Second.
And then Cheryl?
Mr. Lysak?
Yes.
Mr. Grosek?
Yes.
Mr. Kenchlow?
Yes.
All right. In review of claims number 650, was there any questions related to the amount of $13,624.08?
Is there any explanation what they're for?
Is there an explanation?
Yeah, what they're for. I don't have that in front of me.
Yeah, we have everything over here, Bob.
Would you like to see a copy of it?
Sure.
It's a lot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Just wait for Bob.
Yeah. Okay.
I make a motion to approve funds from 650 in the amount of $13,624.08.
I'll second that motion.
Mr. Lysak?
Yes.
Mr. Grosek?
Yes.
Mr. Kenchlow?
Yes.
Okay, moving on to update items. We have the Justin Latz property at 7320 West 140th Place. A lot of contingencies there as far as different ownership has been found out. Is there any update on your end, Luke?
And I think the last correspondence I have on this is an email from Don to David, just asking if any headway was made on procurement of the easement for, I think it's the Sullivan parcel, is this the right one? And did not see a response on that, so that's about the latest I know on that.
Okay.
The lady has reached out a couple times via email to ask if there's, if we were gonna start on the project or what, but I still haven't gotten a response back from Mr. Ashen as to where we stood with that. Like if we were gonna be able to, just get an easement from her, or what was the deal? There's been zero communication as far as.
I thought he was preparing the easement. No, he was preparing the easements. Or after the lady came in, he was preparing the easements.
That's what I have, is that he was working on preparing the easements to be signed off by the Sullivan family.
Julie, you and I need to talk to Dave about that.
Oh, Yeah, I haven't seen any, I just was trying to see if there was any new, anything, and I don't see it.
Okay. Well, let's keep that on an update item. Hopefully we'll hear from Mr. Rush in July. Moving on to 12806 Marsh Landing Parkway.
That's in the same position it was the last meeting. We spent this last month trying to get the water going over here at WPM, and didn't really make any headway on these public works projects, but we did call in for locates for the monastery project, the one on 128, so we're gonna get started on that here next week and get that done, and then hopefully we'll have some kind of a better update for you on that Havenwood one.
Good deal. Jumping ahead on the
Sorry.
agenda, it's all good. Moving on to update item C, Chris Warnoff, 10708 West 133rd Place.
Yeah, like we said before, we jetted that line and got that all cleaned up, so I think everything is good for the time being. I did get a report, I was on vacation last week, but I got an email that said they were doing some paving or something down in that area that might have affected some drainage, but haven't had a chance to look at that yet, as of yet, but I will.
Okay, we'll keep that on update item.
We still need those drains cleaned out under North Fork Railroad, right?
Yes.
Luke, I do have a phone number of a representative from North Fork who said if we ever needed anything, he attended a Northwest Indiana Regional Planning Commission meeting to give him a call, so I'll forward his information to you.
Okay. Where are the culverts that need to be cleaned out?
Under the railroad tracks.
For,
From the gates into this property.
is this related to this is related to the Chris Warren home? So,
Yeah, basically from 133rd south, there's about 3 of them. There's one by the school, there's one back by McAllister's kind of. There's like 3 crossings there that are all pretty bad.
okay, so this is the drainage, if I'm understanding right, everything kind of drains southerly, eventually over to Sleepy Hollow Ditch, right?
Correct.
Those railroad culverts,
Yep.
and those are the ones that are blocked? Okay.
Well, need some maintaining.
Okay. And then, I guess that kind of goes right into update item D, Sleepy Hollow Ditch cleanup.
The update is,
Coming.
we got that on the list also. They
Okay.
just, they got all those big, crazy weeds cut down. We found that there's really no good way of killing them. I don't know what that species of that big tall thing is that grows, but, they say that it takes about 8 years of constantly spraying them and trying to keep them clipped down to maybe get them killed off, but, it's like, whatever that thing, I can't remember the name of it, but they said that was the most invasive species of a plant that you can get, and it's super hard to get rid of. Now we gotta be careful, because whatever we try to spray on them is going in the lake, so we can't get too crazy, we're trying to kind of spray just the weed and not get too crazy, but, that part is cleared up, but like we talked about the last meeting, from 141st to the north still needs, a lot of work, so.
I have a question pertaining to that on the 133rd Street one that we just talked about. If they're gonna jet that or clean those up, is that gonna increase that flow then to Sleepy Hollow significantly? Because right now it's being blocked, am I correct?
It kind of is, but I don't know that I think that there's enough checks and balances on the other side of the tracks there that kind of will keep it, I don't think it's gonna increase. Usually those are only like a 18-inch culvert across those tracks, and they are flowing. I wouldn't anticipate it being that much to make that big of a difference, but I'm sure it'll affect it some, a little bit.
We did a federal project over there in Utopia, called a 219 project, and it curtailed, the streets over there in Utopia used to flood every time we had a rain. You had fish swimming down the roads. And I haven't seen that since we did the federal project, the 219 federal project.
How big is the pipe that was jetted?
He said 18-inch?
That was the 18-inch?
I think it's like 18-inch.
Okay. I mean, yeah, it's
Okay.
probably not something you'd really notice.
Okay.
Thank you. Got our Monastery Woods update. Moving on to item B, we have the Woodland Hills, 130th Court and cul-de-sac.
That was something you guys were working on a new plan for, right, Luke, for the drainage for the,
Is this the sinkhole
or
one?
is that just the cul-de-sac?
I think this is the one with the sinkhole with the tree
Yeah.
that fell in.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, and that guy, I don't think that's, I think that can be removed from the list because they got that tree taken care of and there's no sinkhole, so.
Yeah, he hasn't been back since, and so.
I think it was just kind of trying to get rid of that tree.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's ever been a issue with the pipe.
Right, I think.
We have yet to find any problem with the pipe, so.
Yeah, the storm.
I know Eric was just over there again after it rained the last time, just to kind of re-look again, and there's nothing there.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can take Woodland Hills off, for next meeting. Dewey Street lateral on 14616 Dewey Street.
Yeah, he was attempting to turn in a permit for a new home on that property. I know he started the process, but, there's still been no agreement with him to give us an easement to put in that drain, so, I don't know where he's at with that, but we told him, you know, either he's gonna have to give us an easement to put in the drain, or he's gonna have to put in the drain himself. So, there's still been no progress.
Okay.
So it's a hold off on the homeowners.
Yeah, that's Fred, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he did not show up at the last unsafe building, meeting also, he was supposed to do the plans.
Everybody does a bad thing.
Still on the building. Okay, moving on to Woods of Cedar Creek. That should be closing out here shortly if it hasn't yet.
Yeah, this is the one that, if you recall, they were repairing a couple sprinklers, which they've done, and apparently all that's left is one 5-foot by 5-foot square of sidewalk. Which is good and bad, because the contractor's trying to figure out where he's getting concrete for one sidewalk square. Long story short, probably by the time the July meeting rolls around, everything will be done. We can release the retainage and move on. So we're on the 1 yard line apparently.
Yeah, the grass looks good too back there. It was really,
Yeah, it turned out really well, everything, nothing settled or sank or anything turned out good.
So he's gotta find concrete for 5 by 5.
Yeah, he needs an $800 a quarter yard of concrete, that's the killer, 'cause
Yeah.
Gonna have to try to convince someone to give him some concrete.
yeah, you need to catch somebody pouring something,
Yeah.
or something, 'cause,
That's a very little amount.
yeah, that's literally a quarter yard of concrete.
It's- They wash out more than that.
Right, yeah, there's a lot of dollars for that little piece, you gotta have it, but we'll get to it, I'm sure that this, sometime, they're doing some stuff around, we'll be able to get something there, help them get something to get it done, so.
I think that's what he planned on doing, was to see what was close by and literally
Yeah.
get some kind of bucket or whatever to get over
Yeah.
quick enough before it.
Yeah.
Get a wheelbarrow.
okay, moving on to Woodland Shore Storm Sewer Improvements. This is the formerly the Becker property.
I think they're waiting on one easement for this one, I believe.
That's the 136 right, still down
Yeah.
there?
Yep.
So waiting on one easement, okay.
How many easements did they have to get total?
Don't know, more than one at least. I know they have one recorded. And I think there's one left, and there could be more, that they already got, but there's only one left.
Gotcha. Okay, Schubert Dodge Street Storm Sewer System.
Yeah, this is one that we're working on right now. We got survey on this last month, and we're putting together a preliminary plan together. The idea is to get not only a preliminary plan together, but then a cost, which we would then, you know, obviously bring back here and let everybody weigh in on that. So it's not the July meeting, maybe the August meeting, we have that information ready. So not too long.
Okay. Yeah, it was always discussed that that would be part of a larger project.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be a bigger project that this one's gonna be part of.
Okay. All right, moving on to new business.
I have something I'd like to bring up.
The floor is yours, sir.
Pertaining to the South Shore Country Club and the disruption of some of the ground that was done there, I was informed that that was far enough away from the wetlands. My issue is the water that is flowing from that wetland under 145th Street that flows west to the lake. Now, when I went by the entrance of the clubhouse, there looks like there's an obstruction on the upside of that stream flowing out to the lake. I don't know, is that ever, how does that flow? Is that something that is a natural flow? If the lake rises, this rises? I'm
Yeah,
trying to figure that out.
And that's exactly what it does. As the lake rises, that water pushes south under the road and kind of goes into that area. And then as the lake lowers, it kind of comes back and goes out, or, you know, out the overflow or whatever. But it's kind of like I guess, auxiliary overflow, or, I was gonna bring that up here also, because that culvert that goes under 145th right there is failing. We're gonna actually be closing that road down Thursday to change it, because, we had probably a 3-foot around and 2-foot deep sinkhole in the eastbound lane over the weekend in that road, and that we hydrovac'd it today, and the culvert is just disintegrated.
So
That
that,
thing's 95% full of gravel and stone there, so I don't know what's really, you know, I mean, from what I can see, that thing's completely jammed full of stone.
and that's what concerns me, is the quality of the water when the lake goes down and that wetland discharges out to the lake. What is the quality of the water that's flowing out of there?
Right.
And I don't know if it's contaminated or not, I won't say at this time, but that's gonna flow south, right to where all those kids are swimming in that beach area. And that's a concern I have.
Right.
So, has that ever been monitored? Bob, I think you said something that it was the health department was doing it at one
The
time?
health department takes monitoring on contaminants in the lake in 11 different places. And I used to get a weekly report from Mr. Bates when he was with the Lake County Health Department, and after he left, I don't receive them. And they called the chamber once and wanted the chamber to post when the lake was contaminated. And I even told them that's not.
Could you tell us how long ago that was, Bob? How many years ago that, you know, when you stopped receiving this approximately?
Maybe 10, 15 years ago.
That's a concern. And the people in the South Shore area should be concerned also.
Yeah, and I know that they still come and test the water by the beach here, the county does.
Yeah, they used to have 11 different spots.
Right, and I don't honestly know that answer, but they will have to check into that.
Maybe check with the health department and see if they do that still. And
I know any runoffs coming from abandoned golf courses are could be fairly hazardous.
Because of the fertilizer or because of?
Fertilizer, everything that's been put on that course, correct? Over the years. And back then, there weren't as many restrictions as there are now.
Right.
And that's why the concern I do have. And also with that project that they were doing with moving some of the dirt around, another big concern I had was why were there no slip barriers put around?
Well, just because of the MS4 rules, if there's like 15, 20 feet of buffer of grass area, you don't really need that erosion. So, they knocked down those hills and they put grass seed down, so really, that's, since it was in those little controlled areas there, you don't really need it, basically they filled in the sand traps and the greens to make it easier to mow and maintain, but they didn't really do any type of,
Did they get any type of, report that they can do that from IDEM? With removing, scattering the dirt around
No,
on an abandoned golf course?
no, they didn't get anything that I know of.
I think they'd have to disturb more than an acre to get a permit from IDEM.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so if they were just doing some sand
I think
traps
it was
here and
just
there,
yeah.
it probably didn't add up to over an acre.
And it was all in the middle of just in the grassy areas, they just basically filled in the sand traps with the greens and.
Well, I know the one they did was right close to where that small creek discharges out. That's right by the clubhouse. They disturbed that, and that's really close.
Right. Yeah, but there was still a good 30, 40 feet of grass in between that and the water, so, and they put grass seed down on those already, so that was kind of my, at the end of the day, we picked that stuff up to do the final grading and seeding, so, it's not an active construction site, it was basically leveling and re-grassing and done, so.
I would also ask, can you check how that's flowing into the lake? Because it looks pretty bad when I took some pictures of it from the upstream side and the downstream side, and what that is at the entrance going into the clubhouse.
Okay.
Because that looks pretty bad there. There's all kinds of scum on top of that water on the upstream side of it. And I'm afraid if it's gonna get out to that lake. I dealt with stuff like this when we worked at Harborside up in Illinois with the golf course up there. That's why I'm bringing this kind of stuff up.
Right, okay. Yeah, I'll reach out to the health department and see where they do, tests, and then I'll ask if that could be one of the places, just so we can kind of get an answer.
Sure.
That would be.
Thank you.
If they're gonna test anyway, I don't see why they should have a problem with doing that.
Okay.
And Tim, see if they still, they used to give a weekly report to us
Okay.
on what the numbers were and if any area needed to be posted for no swimming.
Yeah, I know like 2 years ago, we got a call that we had to close the beach.
Yeah, I remember that.
But other than that, I never hear anything good.
No.
So,
They only give you bad news.
right.
They don't tell you when things are good.
I've never heard of I wasn't aware that they checked off. I knew they tested at the beach, but I didn't know there was 11 spots, or there used to be 11.
There used to be, I can't guarantee it's still the same.
Yeah.
Well, I'd appreciate you looking into that for us, Tim, okay?
Okay.
Thanks. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right, moving on to public comment, and just a reminder, when you approach the podium, please state your name and your address.
It's your time, if you got anything you wanna tell them.
That was one thing, I see that these guys are here, but we did send Don's report for lot 6 to, I'll draw a blank on the builder, but, Steiner. And we have